Welcome to Content with Character, the weekly podcast that'll give you the momentum you need to create content with more ease, clarity, and laughter. I'm your host, content copywriter Emily Aborn, and I'm all about unconventional marketing approaches. I believe in your big ideas, and I'm excited to help you share them in a way that's distinctly you. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. All you have to do is call, and I'll be there. James Taylor forgot one little part in his song. We will all be there at one point or another, either physically, mentally, emotionally, and in our businesses. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about the 4 seasons as it relates to business and help you determine which one you're in, plus what actions to take no matter what the temperature is right now. Hello! Have I ever told you how happy it makes me to sit down and chit-chat with you? Whether I'm welcoming you back or welcoming you here for the first time, I'm so happy that we have this time together, and I'm eternally grateful for you choosing to listen to my show. It is truly one of my favorite things to do, to create these episodes for you, and that is my favorite kind of relationship. You want to be here, I want to be here, I like you, you like me, we all want to be here. It's a win-win. Reciprocity is the name of the game. It is the current season of life that I'm in right now. Meaning, if it's not mutually enjoyable for all parties, bye Felicia. Okay, so speaking of seasons that I'm in right now, and enough gushing over you, today we're going to be talking about seasons in our businesses and how it impacts what actions you might choose to take. I've been thinking a lot about this as we head into a new year, and I'm definitely in the process of changing some things, changing my MO a little bit, because I'm heading into not just a new year for, my business and my life, but really a new season. And I feel this way in a lot of areas of my life right now. It's like a new era, if you will. So important for you to know before we get into the actual topic at hand. When I talk about seasons in this episode, I'm going to be using winter, spring, summer, fall. But seasonality in our businesses and for us personally, it doesn't actually necessarily always match up to the seasons taking place outside of us. And they also don't have to have the same timeline, meaning like it's not going to be a perfect 3 months per season. A season in your business could be 3 years, 30 years, 5 days, 2 seconds, etc., etc. Secondly, just as with normal seasons of the year, you might find that you personally have a preference of one over another. One might feel really uncomfortable to you. You might want to just move on from that season as fast as you can into the next one. And I would encourage you this. I would encourage you as you listen to kind of think about and reflect on if that's the case for you as we go through them. But remember that spring, even if I'm talking very positively about one of the seasons and maybe a little negatively or darker about another of the seasons, spring, for example, is not going to necessarily be magical for you just because it is for someone else. It might actually, conversely, invoke anxiety or fear or something else entirely. So my point being, a lot of this is going to be generalizations to how these might feel and be experienced, but it's not the end all be all because we're all going to have our favorites and we're all going to have ones that we want to avoid like the plague, and different things are going to evoke different feelings for all of us. So I wanted to focus on this topic because I think that when you know what season you're in, when you can kind of identify it, it can help you to know what to focus on in your business, in your marketing, in your visibility efforts, and also when. And I think that it can help you know kind of better what to say yes to and what to say no to at certain times. And as I talked about in last week's episode, which I'll include a link to the show notes for that one, it can also help you to set realistic expectations and goals for yourself and your business as a whole. Because when you know you're in a certain place, you might have different goals, different expectations on yourself and on your business. Now, if you like this kind of conversation and you want to keep on diving deeper and also learn more about kind of the seasons and the ebbs and the flows and the cycles, maybe you even want to kind of take it a step further and think about how does your business and your body relate to each other, I would highly encourage you to check out my episode of the She Built This podcast with my special guest, Brianna Martinez. We talked about cycle syncing with the seasons, with our own hormonal cycles, with the moon, and I will be sure to include a link for that episode in the show notes as well. But on that note, I just really want you to soak up today's episode, be here now, and ask some of these questions to yourself, and also just absorb it all. And so to help you do that, I did include pretty detailed notes, because I don't want you like listening to this episode trying to jot down links or getting distracted or trying to take notes. So I did include some pretty detailed notes in the show notes, and it's also going to have, I'm sharing like some fun quotes as I get into this, so it's also going to have all of those quotes for you too, so you can, reference them for yourself. And a detailed version of my show notes is usually something you can rely on me for, especially with topics like this. Sometimes I want you to be able to access it in writing and not just me blabbing on. Now, in case you are new here, welcome aboard. I really do hope you'll stay. I hope the feeling will be mutual and you'll love being here as much as I do. In case you don't know me, I'm Emily Aborn. I'm a content copywriter. I'm host of this podcast as well as the She Built This podcast. And I'm going to share a fun fact with you today. And that is my favorite season, which is hands down, no question, zero contest, summer. My least favorite season, as you can probably imagine based on that answer, is winter, and I live in New Hampshire, so there is quite the conundrum here. But I make it work. We make it work. I have hot hand warmer packets in my pockets as I speak. I also wanted to, just as two more quick housekeeping pieces, I wanted to mention that I just got the information from Spotify on this podcast for the year. And what I absolutely want to thank you for is listening, but also sharing the episodes, because I got to see which episodes were most shared, which were most sent to other people. And it was truly just like a delight and eye-opening. And I have a feeling that this is going to be another one like that. I also want to encourage you, if you are sharing the episode, maybe you could take another 30 seconds, 60 seconds top, and write me a review in Apple Podcasts. My pal Casey Hayes just did one recently, and I say, be like Casey. This is what Casey had to say if you need a little inspiration. Casey says, insights that resonate. Emily has a way of releasing episodes I totally resonate and hit the nail on the head with challenges I face in my business. I love that. This podcast is value-led. If you're an online business, add this podcast to your resource library, listen in, and apply what you learn. You will be so glad you did. And I want to give a big, big thank you to Casey, and also shout out her business, because I like to make this reciprocal. So Casey is a podcast guest strategist. She helps coaches, authors, soloists use podcast guesting to grow their impact. Casey is also the co-host of Podmakers, which is a podcast about the realities of podcasting and business ownership. So there you go. When you're done listening to this podcast, you got another place to go after that. And I will, again, include the link to Casey's podcast in the show notes, because I like to make sure you have it all in one place. All right, on that note, I think we're all house tidied up. We're all cleaned up. So let's head in, bundle up, get your galoshes, get your sunglasses, your flannel, whatever you need, and let's go. We cannot stop the winter or the summer from coming. We cannot stop the spring or the fall or make them other than they are. They are gifts from the universe that we cannot refuse, but we can choose what we will contribute to life when each arrives. That quote is by Gary Zukov. And you already know you're going to have to bear with me in case I pronounce any of these names wrong. Like life, business is cyclical. And like the real seasons, we navigate each of the seasons in our business in a different way. Each season carries a different energy, a different vibe. We're going to have different tasks and different things that we focus on no matter where we are. And I also think it's important to remember that no matter where we are, this too shall pass. There will be another season. We may feel stagnant or stuck or maybe wildly overwhelmed, like our head is going to explode. We may feel disconnected. We may feel more outgoing, more introverted, frustrated. It totally depends on where you are in your business. And it's important to remember that it does always ebb and flow. And that is totally normal. So if you can work with the natural rhythms of your business instead of trying to resist or resent them and where you are, you will feel a little bit more rested, a little bit more productive, a little bit more calm maybe, and less anxious when the turbulent times come rolling in. So I think that in our discussion, let's start with spring. And I kind of want to start with spring, not because it's like the first season. There really is no first season, right? It's like a circle. But I want to start with spring because I want to start you off at this time of newness and this time of refreshment. So for some of you, that is actually going to be where you start off in the new year. And if you're one of those people who you wish it was spring in your business right now, I also want this starting point to kind of give you a little bit of hope that spring is actually coming soon. Now, my girl, Audrey Hepburn, she says, to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. I love that quote so much that I have it on the mugs I give my clients when they start working with me. To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. Springtime in your business is exactly that. It is about possibility. It is about potential. It is about planting seeds. So if you think about springtime in the natural world, it's time to like get the soil ready and like pick out the type of kale and tomatoes that you're going to be planting. You know, maybe you pack away those winter clothes, right? Like you don't need those anymore. And you start cleaning out your house, cleaning out your closet. Spring cleaning. It's a time of making way for things that you don't need or you don't want or you're putting away for later, and you're starting to pave the path for newness. It's a no-brainer, right? So how does this relate to your business? Well, in your business, springtime is this season where you might feel it's like this. You're starting to make new business plans. So you might feel like very excited about the potential and the possibility and the newness of making new plans. You might be developing strategies, coming up with new ideas, establishing relationships with and meeting new people, like expanding your network. You might be laying the groundwork to ensure that you have maybe like a solid website or a solid SEO presence. Maybe this is where you're kind of working on your brand, right? And like invigorating your brand or putting a brand in place in the first place. You're implementing new systems, you're getting into experiences and opportunities, and you're also simultaneously letting go of things that are weighing you down. So anything that doesn't make room for the newness, it's like, no, thank you, get out of my way. This is like a very energized, excited time for many people. And there are lots of things that you find yourself in this time wanting to say yes to, like wanting to try. So this might be a time, if you're thinking about your own business, this might be a time when you're like, yes to all the coffee chats, yes to all the Zoom calls, yes to all the networking, like you're ready to go. Let's go. There's room for vitality. It's a very, very action-oriented time. Now, here's what I want you to consider. I want you to remember that during this time, it does feel very exciting. Feels like everything's a yes. The world is your oyster. It's possibilities at every turn. Remember that what you plant in the spring is going to grow. Chances are it's going to grow with nurturing, of course. But my point is, what you say yes to, you do actually have to do later. So who you're connecting with now, who you're saying yes to as a collaborator, this could actually come through and turn into collaborations. So consider this, like when you're planting your seeds, you don't want to just plant seeds all over the place. You don't want to just plant random seeds. Like if you don't like zucchini, don't plant zucchini. Make sure that the seeds that you're planting are still aligned for you. They're still aligned for your business. They're focused, they're clear, and they're in line with the direction that you're headed and the vision that you have for your business and also for your life. So like I said, for some of us, New Year's actually feels like that springtime for us, and it does pave the way for the year ahead. So while maybe this is where you are right now in your business, and you're like excited and there's newness and there's new ideas. So remember that while you're in this, ride that wave, and also remember to do this with intention and with purpose. So next, I want to move into summer. And I love this quote by William Carlos Williams. In summer, the song sings itself. It is so true. Like I said, summer is my personal favorite season in real life. And I think that it's like it's probably my second favorite for my actual business. Now, as opposed to spring, this is like a little less scattered, or I guess the word I kind of want to use is like frenetic. Like you're a little bit less, the excitement is still there, but it's a little bit calmer, chiller, mellower. Like everything's sort of like a little easier, right? So now everything that you just planted in the spring with all that energy and all that excitement, that's all now growing. And it's starting, you're saying, oh, now it's starting to be abundant. Like I'm starting to actually bloom some of this. Things are blossoming. And some of it is actually even thriving. And it requires on my side, on your side, a little bit less of that fast pace, a little bit less effort in order to make that happen. So during this time, you might still be kind of like happily humming away on things, nurturing and tending those relationships that you started in the spring season, and still you're connecting with new people. You're still feeling that like very outward focus in your business and like showing up and getting visible. But this is a time to remember one thing. This is not like, it does feel easier. It feels like things are like set into motion, right? But it's not a time to just set it and forget it. Like you actually do still have, it might feel easier, but you still actually do have to be there taking consistent action steps and working on that business garden. So that means watering it, giving it light, giving it love and attention. Like, again, this is not just set it and forget it. It should feel easier to do all these things because you do have the energy for it. But what I don't want during this season is for us to be like, oh my God, this is so easy, and just ignore our systems and our operations and some of that back end stuff during this time. Or maybe, and I know that this is the case for some people that I see, they kind of do this pendulum swing with their marketing and with their content. And during the summer seasons, they just kind of like in their business, not actual summer, but sometimes in actual summer too. But during those summer seasons, they just like ignore their marketing altogether because business is starting to boom and people are starting to find them and they're starting to connect with new people. So they're like, I don't need to do any marketing. Some other folks, and myself is included in this, is sometimes this season I can get really disorganized. And so when I come back into maybe a fall or a winter or another of the seasons, I'm very off track because I've been very disorganized because everything is just like, oh, sure. And it's a little free flow and all over the place. So this is not a time to just set it, forget it. You're going to want to stay with your systems, stay organized, stay taking consistent action. And also know that in the summer, you're actually setting yourself to come back really strong for this next season, which you're going to love. So in the summertime, you do want to be consistently watering and nurturing and taking those slow, steady steps because fall is exciting and it can keep on running really, really smoothly if you set yourself up for success in that summer season. So ready to move on to fall? You're going to love this one. I love this one. Jim Bishop says this about fall, or autumn as some people call it. Autumn carries more gold in its pocket than all the other seasons. Now, I love this on multiple levels. I love it on a natural level, like when you get to watch the trees changing colors. That's like actual gold in nature, right? But I also love it thinking of like the gold in my business. I'm like, ooh, yes, more gold, please. So fall. So many people love fall. Now, in the real world, I don't love fall because here's what it reminds me of. It reminds me that winter is coming, and I don't like winter, like I said at the beginning of this episode. So in the real world, I don't always thoroughly enjoy, I don't always allow myself to thoroughly enjoy fall, because I always feel that threat that winter is coming. And so I actually kind of want to relate this to our businesses too, because fall is a beautiful time. Like especially if you live in New England, although I'm sure it's beautiful in many, many other places, but especially if you live in New England, you get to experience those trees like showing off their beautiful foliage. The temperature is really comfortable and you get to dress in some great fashions with sweaters and boots and all those vests and things. And you get to start kind of connecting with family, sharing the joy of the new season together. It really, really is a lovely time. So I would challenge us in our business to enjoy it just as much, because fall is sort of that time in our businesses when the harvest is here. You are seeing the beautiful results. Like your business is maturing, the rewards of all your hard work in the spring and then your nurturing in the summer are really paying off. And it becomes this season of abundance and also a little bit of change as you're kind of like, I want to say you're like up leveling. So you're going to feel, yes, like you're in the flow. Yes, you have projects on your plate. You have new leads consistently coming in. Ideas are coming to life. Things are taking off. Bank account good. Network good. Everything is good. And it's also important to remember that this is a time of change. So there may be things that you are big time letting go of and saying no to. There may be some things you have to face around your like kind of own limiting beliefs, right? Like as you move up to the next level. But all in all, it should feel really, really good. And you should feel really kind of like excited to go to work in the morning. So here's what I want us to focus on during this time. If you're in this season, make sure to celebrate it. Like really, really celebrate it and have gratitude for this time. Don't let it pass you by without taking that pause to really soak it up and savor what you have built. Because I can tell you that come winter, when it's not so lovely, you might be like, why did I not thoroughly embrace in the fall in my business? So what I also would say is what to do in this time, if this is the season that you're in, or you can feel yourself heading into that season, harness the energy you have right now, the excitement you have, the abundance, and use that to prepare yourself for leaner times. So what that might look like is getting ahead on your content. Maybe it's like batching things out, right? Or putting away some dollars into an account that you might tap into later if need to be. Or hire a team member to help you outsource some things so you can keep like up leveling and keep this purring. Invest in something similar to a team member. Invest in something that is going to save you time and money later on, and you'll be so happy that your fall self made this investment. And then I also want to encourage us not to forget about those connections and referrals that we built in the spring and summer season. Make sure to follow up with those connections and referrals. We don't want the well to run dry, and we also want them to know that we're here for them, even if we're like a little bit busy in our businesses. Okay, let's get into winter. And I know I've been making it sound scary and bad, but winter's not all bad. I found 2 quotes for winter. So first, let's share one by Andrew Wyeth. I prefer winter and fall. When you feel the bone structure of the landscape, something waits beneath it. The whole story doesn't show. I don't know why, but I just love that. That like gives me the chills. Speaking of winter. Let us love winter, for it is the spring of genius. That one is by Pietro Argentino. So to reframe winter for myself this year, I'm thinking of it as a time of physical and emotional rest. Now, in my personal world, I will obviously still be working, but I'm using winter as a time to push myself a little bit less and like truly embrace hibernation and downtime. In your business, winter is kind of similar. It is a time of rest. It is a time of maybe introspection, recovery, slowing down. Now, for some of us, and this might be inflicted upon us, right? Like our businesses may actually be slow. And for some of us, we may choose these times in our business. It may feel wildly uncomfortable. As I said at the beginning, we all have different seasons that make us feel panicky, happy, calm, excited, etc. So winter might come after you maybe tried something and it failed. And it might come with a slowdown in your business. It might come with your own energy kind of lacking and you're just not feeling like up to par right now. And you feel, you actually need to step back a little bit. It might feel like you just hit a lot of walls and hit a lot of dead ends and, reaching out and connecting with others is just not doing it for you. You might need to think of a different way to go about marketing yourself or to growing your business. So I assure you that winter is not bad in our businesses. It is just different. It is a time where we really get to stop, reflect, and then decide how we want to move forward. So we're actually like, okay, what seeds did I plant that worked for me and that grew into something I really wanted and felt really, really excited about through that spring, summer, and fall? What did I plant that is just really not working, like not having legs here? So you're going to be thinking about the seeds that you want to purchase in the spring and the changes that you need to make in order to make what you want to grow in your business grow. It might also be a time of like some reflection, like asking yourself, who is actually there for me? Who is actually my ideal client? Like, who's keeping me warm, right? But you get to ask yourself, like, during this time, what you really want for your business, what you really want for your life, whether or not what you're offering works, if you're sharing it in the right way, does it feel right for you? Also, still another time of letting go, which again, I think actually letting go is pretty much every single season. I think summer, we kind of add a lot. Spring, we kind of add a lot. But I do think that letting go is a component of every single season and always can be part of our lives. But if you're experiencing a winter in your business, try not to allow yourself going into this downward spiral, wondering what's wrong with you, feeling blame or shame. I'm guilty of this one, and that is I often find myself stressing out over how long the season is lasting. Like, will I ever get a client again? Will it ever be warm again? I shared that in a recent episode about what to do when your business is slow, and I'll make sure I include a link to that. But I remember at the beginning of this year, I was on a walk with my friend, and I was like lamenting about a slow time. I mean, it must have been like 2 weeks of slowness in my business. And I was like, lamenting to her, and then she said to me, her words to me were, we should enjoy this slow time because don't you know it's going to pick up again and we're going to be right back to being overwhelmed. And she was 100% right. And so I think that winter is an important time in our businesses for us to just like know that this is normal and also build up that perseverance, that internal resilience, because entrepreneurship is a roller coaster ride. Like, it does have ups and downs. It does have ebbs and flows. So you can actually use this time to your advantage and allow yourself that rest, allow yourself that reflection, that taking stock, that contemplation. And here's the other thing that you can do to make the winter season in your business easier. If you had done what I recommended in the fall, if you've prepared yourself in the fall, like you've kind of like squirreled away a couple extra dollars, you're going to be a lot better off in the winter because, like I said, winters are inevitable for all of us, but you'll be able to navigate it more easily and also spare yourself a little bit of panic and anxiety if you have a little bit of a cushion. And then you can use this time to work on the back end of your business, the things you never get around to, right? The tasks you just are like, oh, I'll do that later. You can really reflect and set yourself up for success moving forward. And I love if you've had that little stockpile, if you've kind of known that this is coming, or maybe you know when this happens in your business and it happens on a cyclical basis, you can approach this season a little bit more calmly, and you won't be out there freezing cold without a jacket on, right? So that's the 4 seasons. No shocker there. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. And I want to leave you with this question. I want to ask you what season you feel like your business is in. Are you experiencing the lightness, newness, planting, possibility of spring? Are you experiencing that cozy, purring along, nurturing, sunshiny time of summer? Are you in the maybe abundant and connected and changing time of fall, or are you in the dead of winter? And then I would ask you another question to consider. If you reflect back on the year we just had, 2023, what season would you say that the year overall, like what was the vibe of the year overall for you? Now, I've been thinking about this question. You know me, I love me some reflection. In 2023, I've been doing a little bit of a dance between spring and summer. Realistically, I've been doing a little bit of a dance between spring and summer for the past 5 years. Now, I've had a couple winters splattered in there too. And now I'm going to ask you my next question. I want you to look at the year coming up, 2024, as a whole. And I want you to ask yourself, if I were to predict what kind of year, what season do I think that my business is heading into? What season is 2024 going to be for me? Now, as I told you, I've spent a lot of time in spring and summer, and I'm personally like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to head into fall in my business. Like, I have been very hard at work. I've been planting seeds, learning what sticks, what I want to plant and nourish, letting go. And I am ready for the fruits of my labor to shine through in a beautiful, more ease-filled way. So all this to say, I think it's important to consider these 4 seasons because the actions you take now, you can, to some extent, prolong and shorten certain seasons, but you can also prepare yourself for the next one. Lying down and crying over winter in our businesses is not one way to shorten it, but enjoying it as a time of pause and reflection and planning in your business will definitely make it fly by a lot faster and make it a lot less painful, even if that time is not spent busy with clients or making money. So whether you're in that refining, the reflecting, the resting, the building, the growing, the planting, wherever you are right now, and whether or not you're headed somewhere entirely different next, I want to offer something that will help support you. I offer a personalized, individualized, whatever you want to call it, messaging and content strategy. And in these, I sit down with you for 90 minutes and you share with me basically where you are in your business, where you want to go. You can share any woe or concern that you want with me, and I will help you take the action steps necessary to get where you want to go. We accomplish a whole lot in these sessions. We focused on your content needs, your questions, discussing really how to create messaging that aligns with your audience, reflects where you are, reflects where you want to go, definitely has your voice in it. So if you have a question related to content, you want to map out your next 90 days, let's say, you want to brainstorm ideas together, you want to chat SEO, blog ideation, logistics, I can help. The options are literally endless, and I have done them on so many different topic areas. I also follow up with you. So anything that I'm like, oh, this would help you and serve as an additional resource, or it would provide you with a step-by-step action plan. If I need to, I make that happen. So my brain is your brain in these strategy sessions, and I try to keep them really affordable, also very value packed. People love these. They're a great way to get yourself like off to the races, especially as we have that new year coming in hot. So if you are interested, that piques your interest, I will include a link in the show notes, and I would love to see you in one of my strategy sessions soon. And real quick, before I leave you, do remember to check out the show notes for any of the resources, quotes, etc. that I talked about today. Do check out that She Built This episode with my guest Brianna Martinez if you want more where this came from. And I'm going to leave you with one more quote, as well as a preview of next week's topic. This one is by B. Not sure who B is, but B. Oakman. Every season is one of becoming, but not always one of blooming. Be gracious with your ever-evolving self. So good. Next week, we're going to talk about how to figure out if you're trying to consider what to hold on to and what to fold. How do you determine what is sticking? What is really working for you? So we're going to talk about that next week, and I will see you then. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Content with Character. If you loved the episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, rate, review, and share it with someone else you know it could help. For more content and visibility tips, visit my blog at emilyaborn.com, and be sure to connect with me on Instagram at emilyaborn. I'd love to hear how this inspired you to take action.